Hey guys, and how's it going? Hey, this is gonna be a part 2 of this. I think it's like 1960. It's called a King Midget. Came from, it's a US built vehicle. From the 50s to the 70s they made them. I think it was considered the smallest US made street legal car there is. And I have one. Not a very good example of one, but I have one. Last video we put all the pieces back on it, got an idea what it did and didn't have. It was just on, pallets and just a pile of stuff that somebody else took apart. They cut the fenders off the back of it. I just have a couple of bolts with washers, putting stuff back in place, tie wraps holding the fenders on, that kind of thing. Threw a rag over the roof just to kind of figure out where the soft top and what the soft top would look like. And found what pieces we had and what we didn't have. We don't have any interior, we don't have doors, we don't have any of the drive sprockets going from the transmission back to the rear, that kind of thing. But for the most part, most of it is there, but it's in pretty sad shape. Not sure again what I'm going to do with it as far as how far to continue, but I do want to get it to the point where at least it yard drives and we can make a decision from there. So I shoved the engine in it, the transmission's in it, just stuck in their location, and nothing again is bolted. And maybe we shall take that out of there and we'll get an idea what condition that stuff is in, or at least the engine is in. So let's go grab the forklift, we'll pop that back out of there, put it on the bench, and see if we can revive that. If not, we'll see what happened to it, one or the other. Let's get the games to begin. I see a better look at what we got. It looks like at least they took the time to tape off. I guess for critters, maybe. You think it was a while ago? Duct tape has that springy kind of feel. I think it's gone away. Got two clutches. So that one is right tight in, that one is not. So I wonder if they work opposite of each other. I wonder if one clutch grabs at an idle, one grabs at higher RPM. I don't know. But it just doesn't work. Got that too, right? And it looks like there's another sheath for even another belt. So there's two large belts. They look about the same size. I want to say that one's a little bit larger than that one. And then there's another external one all the way on the end. Let's see what we got for carb if things move. That's where the throttle was hooked up. No, that's choke. That's where the throttle's hooked up. And we got a funky looking distributor hanging off the side of it. That's kind of weird. Wonder what the point of that is, instead of running like a magneto into the cover. You're definitely cruddy. I wonder if it's more, looks like it's had a cap or some sort on it too. It's a single cylinder, so there's no reason to have a rotor and a wire. Where's the plug wire go, right? Yeah, plug wire's internal on a coil upstairs. So it has nothing to do with running another wire out. It's already got that part. Maybe it's just for advance. Maybe it needs more advance. Being in a car setup where you kind of rev the throttle and you're driving it more like a car than you are a lawnmower. Yes. The electric start. That's the fuel line. Got a big beefy ass spring behind it. So that's got to coil outward. There it goes. Catch the flywheel. And cancel back in. I'm hoping that that is not to run an external generator, because I do not have it. If that's the case, I would think it would make its own spark. Let's see. I do not see wires coming out of this thing anywhere other than on there. Yeah. That's going to be a start wire. I do not see any charge wires that come out of behind the magneto. Must have just not seen them yet. So I don't think it has a charging system. Kind of sucks. Oh, oil. Got oil in it. It's black. It's got oil in it. Yeah. Well, what do you think? We're going to put a little... Actually, just pop the plug out with a little bit of oil down the plug hole. Let's get rid of that duct tape dust first. That's one big ass looking spark plug. It's like somebody actually did some hacking. Not even close. This is the largest one that's on this set. Not gonna do it. I had to go a 1/2 inch drive. I think it's a 1-inch socket. Tad carboned up. Yeah, let's go dribble a little bit of oil down that, and then we'll maybe put power to that starter and see what happens. Good old Marvel. Let's try to shoot it towards the jug. I think the valves are right here, and the piston's sitting off center to the side over here. Hopefully, it's just something rubbing on the tin and not internal. Yeah, just a fan rubbing. Let's go get a jumper pack and bump that starter a little. So that has a solenoid mounted on the side of it. It's that right there. And normally what you have coming from the battery, you have the hot lead here, and this little post right here, depends on the solenoid. Either you're going to ground it, you're going to put power to it. Latches a relay. This one's probably 12 volts positive. It latches a relay internally and then continues to send the main juice down to the starter. With a jumper pack, we could just hit that pad right there and it should crank. We know we got oil in it, and we know we got oil in the top end, and it turns by hand. Who knows if the starter works? So let's go give that a try. There we go. Let's go give her a good spin then. Tad clanky, huh? And then I think when the motor kicks and runs a little faster, it generally drives that gear back down. Usually it has a spring return, like a light spring return. Let's go give that some joy juice. So you can get that to undo itself. Actually, I wonder if this... Come on away. There we go. Yeah, it's there. I think it's just so crappy. Give her a good dose. Let's go hammer that a couple of times. Go stick our finger over. Let's go get a compression tester. Shove it in the top and see what we get. This is one of the style you hold in by hand. You don't thread it in. I'm sure I got one of those plug hole setups. So we should be able to do this without getting zapped, hopefully. That ain't good. It's got 0.0. That is not good. Alright, we gotta get the cylinder head off. Hopefully it's just a valve not doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it could, you know, there could be nothing left of the piston in there. Going in. You ready? Dun, dun, dun. I still see a piston. Whether it goes up and down is a different story. Let's get this. Save this head gasket. Might just leave well enough alone if I can't get it to. Yeah, I'm gonna get that with a scraper later. Piston's moving. Our exhaust valve is staying. Our intake's working. We got a stuck exhaust valve. Get you closer. Yeah, exhaust valve is jammed in the open position. Let's see what that bore looks like. It looks pretty good. I don't see anything standing right out. Let's go grab a light. Take a peek on there. Let's see if a little diffused light will not be as bright as it normally is. That looks pretty good. What does this thing say it had on for miles? 3,000 miles? I don't know if that's a lot or a little. Yeah, you can't see this side. Yeah, it looks about normal. A little bit of, you see like rust was forming on the wall a little bit. That's why I shot the oil in there. It just kind of helps cut that. I think we'll be okay. I kind of like to clean all that carbon up. I'm betting as soon as we tap it, it's just going to go right down there again. Let's grab, I'm going to grab a putty knife first and see if I can get this gasket off of here. And maybe we'll clean up all these surfaces, get rid of all this carbon that's under there, because I really want to get a wire wheel underneath these two to clean whatever crap is sitting on the seats. Yeah, especially that one, especially the exhaust one. The exhaust one is where all the, you know, the dirt happens. The intake, it's got a clean shot of fuel that kind of keeps rinsing it off. Plus, it's not as hot as that side. I'm gonna go grab something, see if we can maintain that without damaging it. Let's go try this one first. Where did it not? About there. Actually, let's try doing it from the other side. Come on, lift. Probably just rust right around the end of that post there. There we go. Probably be better off if I take. There, got it. I'm gonna say take the tins off there. You can approach it flat. Alright, we are gonna go have fun. The wire wheel, it's cast iron, you're not gonna hurt it. Let's go clean that mess up and run that piston up top dead center. Piston has 040 stamped in it, so I believe that this was bored and a larger piston and rings were installed, is my guess. Wipe all that crap out of there now too. Tap on that valve. We should probably bring it so that the intake valve is open. Then we'll know it's off the cam. All right. They're not going to be both open at the same time, so right there, let's go get ourselves something to shoot a little bit of oil underneath there, and we'll give a little tap-tee-tap, see if we can get that to drop down. I refilled my bottle, but I had some two-stroke premix mixed with gas. Let's go put that in there. Before we give her a couple of tappies. It's pretty solid. I'd like to put something out and try and twist it, but I don't want to scuff up the corners. Let's go give her in case you move, let's go bring it around once. That is in the up position, and she's not having anything to say about it. We may have to. There is a valve cover of sorts underneath the carbonol that has a window to the lifter. That could be totally full of crap. Let's go just give her a little bit more. I'm going right for the center. I don't want to whack it on the side, so I don't want to tilt the valve. We got to go in deeper. All right, so behind the carb in the intake, there's a valve cover down inside here. We're going to try accessing that. So let's get, how many bolts you got holding the carb on? Just two. Let's get rid of these two. Get this whole assembly out of our way. We'll get to that valve cover. Let's take a peek, just throw a little light on it. Yeah, that valve is totally hung up by itself because that's the lifter right there, and the lifter moves. So it's definitely just stuck on the valve itself. Try throwing some lube on the other side of that. It really doesn't look all that dirty too. I'm surprised that it's stuck. It should be all hidden. And that stem shouldn't be exposed anywhere. Well, we could try a little bit of heat too, maybe. That might be a good option. I think I might try, I'm gonna throw some more oil down around it, let that soak a little bit more. Hit it from the other side also, not that, unless we flip the motor over, it's really not, it's not like it's gonna run upward. Maybe we'll put a piece of wood or something on it, or a piece of metal that's flat that I can kind of maintain a good hit and give it a better shot down. Because it's not like you're gonna get that spring off of there easy anyway. It's got full tension on it, and there's not that much room on it. You could, but it's really not going to, again, benefit you any. Let's see what happens. Go and give her a little PV blaster. It's going to move. It just does not know it yet. Let's go. That looks pretty good. I think that moved. So I had to hit her a little harder, right? Now hopefully she'll draw back up when it hits the cam. We'll be good to go. Watch yourself. If we just keep, I probably should have hit that while it was down. And then if we keep working that, it should free up. Now let me spray the bottom of that. Because now we're hitting an area that hasn't been hit before. You know what I mean? Where's the other hammer? I think we can tap it down without the block of wood now. Well, it seems like it's just that very top it's getting hung up on. I wonder if we can grab it. This is leather. We can grab it with a piece of leather. Let's go cut that to that big. There it goes. I don't want to scratch the top of the head too much. I know my hand's in the way. Actually, now that we can get it to go down, we might be able to get that valve right out of there. It goes back down on its own is what we're looking for. To get that right out completely. You tired of staring at a valve yet? I kept working it like this. I kept it's in the all the way up position on the cam, so it stayed at that position. And I just kept ratcheting it, working it, ratcheting it, working it. Let's see if that has improved our chances before I try pulling it out. Because if I pulling it out, I still have to get through all the crud that's holding it. So actually, it went down on its own. You can do it again? There you go. All right. And as it runs, it'll kind of clean itself up. I think we got it. I'm gonna go take a little fine piece of emery, fold it over that, kind of just clean up that bore a little bit. We're not gonna lap it, but we are gonna go about doing that. It's like 2000 grit sandpaper. Just gonna give her some. A little more PV blaster. Kind of clean off any crud. And drop it down, put a load on that valve. The same for the seat. Kind of same thing as lapping it. Almost. Lapping it's the two surfaces working off each other. I'll probably do the same to the intake valve while we're at it. That one got more beat up than the exhaust did, just from the pliers kind of rubbing over the face. That's not where the work happens though. Work happens down below. There we get a non-torn piece of paper in there. Hold on. There we go. That one's got a little bit of side plate to it too. Motor's got some hours on it, especially if it was a reboard. All right, I'm happy. You happy? You want to bolt that starter up a little tight, and we'll fire it up and let it spin with the head off, like a plan. That ought to spit some goo. Kicked up some dirt. Good. I say we put that cylinder head back on. I'm going to clean it out again. I'm going to put that cylinder head back on. Check for compression, then we can jump on the spark. This does not have, I don't think, anything under the magneto. So we're all going to work with that points outside down here, but you can't see. Bring it there in a second. All right, let's see what we get now. Hopefully, should be better than before. It is putting, I want to call that 70. This may have a decompression setup inside it. Or I could hold it a little bit better. 80, but give it a good puff. I think that part of it is just fine. All right, now I gotta go get spark. All right, so it's using a distributor for the spark part of it, not the magneto. Let me grab the center. And generally, yeah, it was stuck for a second. So it should have a set of like flyweights in it, and as its RPMs come up, it starts making the spark happen faster and faster, quicker I should say. And it takes a little while for the ball of fire to erupt and go through its process. So the faster the engine spins, the quicker that has to happen, so that max combustion is happening right when the piston's trying to push back down again. Well, anyway, they have a little spring-loaded. It should return on its own. Usually you're on a multi-cylinder engine. This would be a we're not going to worry about getting them wet. A rotor would be in the middle, and you would grab the rotor and kind of do the same thing. It would have that kind of spring return, and that's on what's called mechanical advance. So as it spins faster, it moves the position of the rotor and the trigger for the points when the points open to happen faster. And then vacuum advance is a canister that sits on the side of the distributor, has a rod that goes in with a vacuum canister on it with a diaphragm, and that has a little linkage that can pull and rotate. Usually the plate that the points are on rotates that plate to kind of do the same, but not the same as using vacuum. It's going by how much vacuum is happening on the carburetor, depicting what the distributor should do in that case. And never mind. There's a retard too. There's a vacuum retard also. But I think we're going to leave the guts of that alone. I wonder if we can get those points right out of there to clean them up. Looks like they have a little adjuster on them. So I'm going to go blow that back out with some brake clean. Where the points are there at least. See what the gap is. We'll run a little file on them. Then we're going to go get a test light. Or a meter rather. And we want to go see the signal that is going through the points, whether it grounds, opens. Then we'll know that that part of it is working. Want the oil where you want it, and you want the clean where you want the clean. The point should be closed. It'll close. We're looking for resistance. 0. zero resistance. The higher the number, the more resistance. So there's no resistance in that. I already disconnected the condenser and the coil off of it. So coming out of that post is just what the signal of what our points are doing. And they should be closed right now, or close to as zero as possible. There you go. We can ground anywhere, it doesn't really matter. It's a bolt back here, it's going there. All right. And then if we open the points, it should open up, close. So I'm going to rock it past there, open, and just kind of make sure that the points with the spring load that they got go back to zero. That looks pretty good. It's closed right there and open. All right, so our points are working. I have no idea what it had for a cap on the outside of it. Maybe just like a metal cap or something. Because it doesn't need a distributor cap. It's nothing to distribute. Let's hook up the coiled condenser and hook our spark plug up. And then we got to put 12 volts, 6 or 12. I got to look and see what this thing is. 6 volt. It says 6 volt on it. We could run 12, but you got to do a very short period of time. We'll go hook all that stuff up unless I can find a 6 volt source. And we'll give her a spin and see if the spark turns on and off on the spark plug. And if that's the case, hopefully we can make smoke rings. Be back in a minute. Get you caught up. We have a power supply, which I do not know if it's making power or not because it is not lighting up the button. I think that button might have failed though. Let's, if we tap ground, we should get a little bit of spark. We do. All right. We're live. And ground is hooked to the block coming off the 6 volt supply. Then I just have a ground jumper wire going down to the coil. So just all the grounds are tied together essentially. And this is hot. I'm going to put power to the coil. And the plug is right there, as long as that's not touching the bench. If I rotate that to where the point's closed, it should fire. I'm seeing it fire there too. I don't know if you can see it jumping. And go kill the lights. Yeah, I literally cannot see a thing myself. Let's go see if we can. There it goes. The little lightning bug. That's our spark. Good. Well, I'd say before we try to make it make smoke, let's get rid of that crappy oil. If it was a little cleaner looking, I probably would go with it. But let's go drain that out first and give it a fighting chance with some fresh stuff. And let's see what the land of goo has to offer us. Judging by how stuck those valves were, I don't think it ran and had that problem. I just think it sat so long it ended up having that problem. Yeah, she's a nice color, huh? Let's go kick that forward a little. I'm gonna let all that pee out, and I think they have some fresh straight weight 30 put back in it. Got us a free pile scrap oil from Joe. Joe hooked us up at a couple of things. Whoop. And that's why I left the pan down there. That's why I have to get a funnel. I refuse. It's principle. So he grabbed some stuff from the scrap pile for us to work on in the future. Actually, he gave us the space generator. We already saw that one. Came from a scrap recycling center. And he dropped off something else. Can't see it yet. And some fluids. I see that was half of that. You think half of that? Yeah, that's at least a quart in there. See if we're even reading on the stick. No. You get the idea. I'll bring it back when it's full. Almost took the whole thing. There's a little bit left. Can you use Briggs oil? Yeah, Wisconsin. If it blows up, that's what we'll blame it on, Briggs. I think we're ready to kind of rock and roll. So this, when it's plugged in, will give us 6 volts. We no longer have that ground wire because the coil is bolted to the engine. We don't need the ground wire anymore. We're gonna go throw a little bit of that piece of dirt that just went in there. Gonna have to shoot out the exhaust on fire. A little bit of that. Plug wire on. This is going to power. It's going to reach. I need to go to that side of the coil. That's the power side. That's the on-off signal. It should fire. Ground is still hooked up. I am on. I am plugged in. I think I have 6 volts going to the coil. And then to spin it, we still have 12 volts on the jumper pack. That shouldn't make a difference. Hopefully this thing does not jump around too bad. To clear everything off the bench, let's go see what happens. Yeah, she'll run. Awesome. Let's, that smells good. Let's go take that carburetor. Take a look at that. And see what we need to do to revive that. Okay, we gotta do it one more time. And we can do a little, maybe a slow-mo. Shall we? Suck those flames back in. There's a good chance that a chainsaw may fire up in the background. So I hear him cutting wood. Let's get rid of this fuel line. It's not smashing us in the face. Put some glasses on. Looks like somebody put the wrong screws in the wrong side. This one, it's not even tight down to the manifold, and it's smashing into the air fuel mix screw. And then the one on the other side is not showing at all. So I'm gonna put that on. Did a boo-boo. I'll get rid of that. Looks like it's made out of a cereal box. All right. That's a drain. Oh, right here. Got a jet down in there. Let's see if we need to take that out yet. Sometimes it's better to soak it and clean the crap out of where the threads are instead of trying to back it up, unless you have to. And I wouldn't think this thing is probably running at, I'm going to say 40 to 50 years. So the fuel that was used was not ethanol. So I would suspect damage, especially if it was left with gas in it, but not the ethanol style. What do you think? What do you think we're going to get? Get rid of one of the last warm days of the year too. You hear all the bikes going by. See if that screw will move. It does. One is more than likely idle and the other one is more than likely main. I'm probably going to think that one's main. I don't know. It kind of looks like there might be a screw. You want to go through that horn? No. Just give her a whack. See if she'll separate. There it goes. Might have to take more apart though to get it the rest of the way. There we go. Not bad. I expected much worse than that. Which is a good thing. Do those floats do anything? I'm going to blow into that. See if our little valve is working. Yeah, because I got the port open. Try to do it again. Yep, that works. I do want to soak it. Plus the rest of the video is going to be noisy from a, like I said, there's chainsaws running in the background. It's going to start up. It's like the Red Green Show. It was a TV show. Throughout the whole thing, all you hear is a chainsaw running in the background. It's a bunch of rednecks up in the woods. And really funny show. But anyway, one of the parts of the skit is there's always in the distance you hear a chainsaw running. Let's go tap that pin out for the float. We'll get that up and out of our way. And see if we can get that gasket off. And then we have a jet to get out of. I just saw it. There's one there. We could probably take that out. And then the one that went in through down there. Let's see if we get those three out. And then we can let this thing soak away. That one's different. The post came right out of it. I don't think it's supposed to do that. We are going to, because will that make it so? No. No, it won't interfere with the operation. I was thinking if it's going to hurt it at all. That one's clog solid. Yes. That one's open. That one was open. But everything, see if we can get that out of there. I think we're going to go leave the needle out of the mix. That can definitely get washed. This can definitely get washed. The only thing I want to get left, not let soak, is so there's a needle and seat. There's a seat that's down inside there. I'm going to need a big old fat screwdriver. I don't want to soak this one because the material, if it's working, called the seat, made of a bunch of different materials, depending on how old it is. I don't want that, which is sitting down in there, to get exposed if it's working, and put it in the chemicals and have it get rotted away and brittle or fall apart. I think that's it. And I'm gonna go let this stuff soak overnight. We can go check it back out again tomorrow, because I'm going home and having me a sandwich. Hey, she's all done and soaked. Let's go see about getting her all back together. let's go put it on the machine. So I bolted that back up. I got a couple of springs on it, so this should be idle. Being pulling it to idle. I didn't want to let it rev full throttle. And this is choke off, that's choke on. I didn't want to have to try to be able to hold both of those. You're going to need a screwdriver right in my pocket so we can tweak the air fuel mix. We've got 6 volts going to the coil from the charger, and the jumper pack is going to give us 12 volts for the starter. If I had a 6 volt battery, I'd run a 6 volt to the starter too, but I don't. And the power supply does not have enough in it to be able to crank the engine. It only puts out 3 amps. Starter probably draws 15, 20, 30. I don't know. So as I have gas dripping down onto the points, it's probably not the best of what I thought the float ball would have taken more than that. So I just kind of filled up the fuel line and the float. Let me take an air gun, blow some of that gas away. See what we get. Yeah, it's just at idle with no choke on right now, so. Let's give her a little choke. Keep going. Should probably turn the idle up a little. All right, so that's choke. That's a little bit of gas. I didn't get away with choke. Let's I want to make sure it's fairly rich. It should stay running. Rich is the screws out. Yep. That's all the way in. Figure at 2. Half, 1, 1.5. Let's go for right there. Alright, a little choke. That was getting hot on my arm. Let's do a little plier stuff. It's weird. It's got like a jam nut on the set screw instead of the set screw. And tight so you can't. It's a little tricky to try to dial in. I don't know how fast it's going to burn through that gas. I filled this dripper up and it only put about 1 inch worth of fuel in it. I may have to put a auxiliary tank on it. Pops loud, don't it? I'll try it again. Actually, let's go turn that idle up. It's got to stop. There we go. Yeah, so now we should just be able to work the choke and get it to go. Try it right there. richer because I put choke on it. It only runs with the choke on. We could have carb problems too, but let's go run it out further. I'm gonna bolt out further. What do I want? Choke? I'm gonna rig up a better fuel supply. That's better. Now you can see if you're running out of gas. We're filled up to up here. Power on for spark. Let's, the only problem is this is going to be in my conducting location. Let's just see what we get. Run that in a good distance and bring it out and try it. Getting there. That's got it. Gonna run low on gas in a second. Good. All right, we got it. so I had to go screw it a little bit. I was off just on my balance. I think I was not running enough on the main jet, and I don't know if it just uses the combination of the both of them. I had the idle up so high, I was trying to use the combination of both of them. I was on the part of the main circuit, so adjusting the idle mixture while it was on the high side of RPMs, I wasn't able to dial it in. I just screwed up. That's all. But we got it. She'll go. Leaking out the gas line a little bit right here, but other than that, it seems decent. From that stuck valve and all the little mechanical issues it had, who knows how long ago was the last time this thing ran, huh? I'd say definitely it's been sitting a while. That starter, how stuck that starter was, and the that valve was really jammed up in there pretty good. Well, that's good. At least we got the motor part of it going. Let me air this out a little bit. I'll bring you back and we'll do our little thing. Well, guys, coming to the part of the end of the video where the video ends. Well, we know we have a good engine. That's good. I'm glad we were able to get that back and built ourselves a shopping list what this thing needs. And yeah, it's pretty extensive. Everything is fairly rough. Fortunately, the sheet metal parts are pretty square. You actually just make the, yeah, if you really had to make fenders and hoods and all, there's not much to them. But I have so many other projects still waiting that this may just get mothballed for a while and see what I can collect. Sometimes you put a video up and somebody sends you links to different parts, or or they have these and have extra parts, and you can you get contacted and you can chase all the bits and pieces for it. But for now, I have like 4 or 5 other vehicles that are waiting their turn, and the orange truck included. Now that the weather's getting cooler, I can go back to welding. Has to finish up on that one. The heat gets me, so I had to go stop on that project. And this it's gonna need brakes, gonna need rear sprocket and chain. I looked them up already. They're like $205. I saw a price on those. Some drive components are missing on the double pulley setup going to that transmission. I gotta look into that. I have the windshield, I have the gasket. And as I said, most of the metal's pretty tough on this thing. Not that there's all that much to this as far as the car is concerned. It's pretty basic. But I would like to get onto those other projects. And one of them I've been working on for a week already. I haven't showed it to you yet. But I've been trying to knock one of them out. There's another one right there. Not that one, but that one. And one's been in here for 1.5 years that you haven't seen. I was kind of waiting on the lift, get the lift set up, and so I have that. I'm trying to wrench a little bit more on the vehicles that I always wanted. So I will still do small engine stuff. This one's both. This one's small engine and car, kind of, sort of. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to go sign off. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me and doing some wrenching, making some fire shoot out of exhaust, and having a good time in general. So until then, I'll see you soon. Yeah, let's give her a restart. See how it starts, fires back up again. The power supply, I think, is on.